Welcome back to 20 Minutes of Clarity.
I'm your host, Jason Noble, and with me today is Andy, the man merchant. Now, we've been covering so many different topics, but this is where we want to get into, do you even need a financial plan? Think about all the things that we've been discussing. It's all been around the Clear Picture Financial Planning Program and process, right? And now we're going, do you even need one at all? Right? And pay the fee and the services that are all involved and getting financially vulnerable that's involved with financial planning, right? Do you need one? That's the question that we're going to be addressing today. And so the first thing that I think we should do is define what is a financial plan. And then we'll go into key considerations or scenarios that you should be considering when evaluating this important question. So let's talk about it. What is a financial plan? Well, that's a plan that would incorporate your cash flow, your investments, your retirement, your taxes, your estate planning, all these different things that come into your financial life. It's really about not just investment management, it's about that overarching roadmap to achieve your financial goals. And I use roadmap very tactically. Financial plans like GPS for your money. You wouldn't take like a long journey, I don't know, from like Charleston down to Tampa without having GPS. No, you wouldn't want to do that, right? You wouldn't want to get lost and spend more time trying to get to your final destination. Instead, you just use the GPS. Well, why wouldn't you do the same thing within your financial life? Why risk it? Right? That's what a financial plan is for. So course correct and make adjustments when things move on and things progress. The job is never
Mhm.
done. But that's a financial plan. It's aligning your money with your life goals. Buying a home, starting a business, retirement, right? It also reduces stress, providing clarity and control over your finances. And it helps you prepare for the unexpected, like emergencies or economic downturns that occur. Okay, so that's what financial planning is. Andy, what did I not say that you think is really important to make sure that we get addressed?
I I think you covered it. What I wanted to highlight, what you said there, is really as you think through this discussion that we're sharing with everybody today and that we're listening to, is definitely take that relatable scenario that Jason used of a GPS, right? Because I'm sure we all use some kind of support tool on our phones, we'll say, to get us from point A to B. If you're driving from your house to the everyday grocery store, you probably don't use it. To how do I navigate across town? And then how do I navigate to Jason's points of longer term trips, right? There's an element in there, and I think that our industry has kind of loosely thrown out a financial plan as this robust document that's super complex, adds a lot of value on the advisor's chair, but very little implementation from the client's side of things. So I think we've highlighted it, but I definitely encourage you as you go through this podcast discussion today, relate it back to how you use your driving GPS, your maps or whatever you use on your phone, because I think that's the most relevant reason around this decision you're going to make. And so I think you nailed it, Jason.
What are the three key things that we're going to now discuss that could help people guide them
Yep.
on, do I need a plan or not?
Yeah. So the three that I always use to evaluate, because part of our process is evaluating whether or not we need to provide a client with a financial planning service. And the first one is goals, right? We look at goals, we look at engagement, and then we look at their situation. Now, peeling back the onion a little bit more around situation, it's really going to come down to how complex you are, right? If you're young and you don't have a lot of debt, you don't have a lot of you're not married yet or whatever it may be, you're still accumulating assets, you don't have a lot of decisions that you're going to make that if you didn't make the most optimal one is going to impact your overall wealth plan compared to the other ones that are on the other end of the spectrum that are going to be, have a lot more complexity to it. Maybe you own a business, you've got a family, you've got debt, you've got big retirement accounts that have now accumulated wealth. Now you have decisions that if you don't make the most optimal one, it could have a much more impactful decision. So when you're thinking about the plan, think about where you are in your phase of life, think about the metrics you're in. But when we help you evaluate whether or not a plan makes sense, think about your goals, think about your level of engagement, and then think about your current situation and the complexity of it is where we start.
let's get into
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah.
So you mentioned short-term versus long-term goals. I find that most people have a combination of both, right? So let's say retirement is a goal that is like in the next 3 years. Well, that's just the start of retirement. That could be for the next 30, right?
Yep.
So if you're listening to what Andy's saying, like you could go, okay, well, that's a short-term goal because I'm going to retire in the next 3 years. Is it really though? It's really for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
Now that right there doesn't in a vacuum necessarily mean you need a financial plan. All it's going into is you have a goal that's going to start in a short period of time, but it's going to be a long period for you to actually accomplish the goal. So that's one aspect of it. But like, here's another example. We had a person that came in. They have a lot of student loan debt, becoming a medical professional. And they're working over at MUSC. They're not in a position for a comprehensive financial plan yet, but they have that student loan debt that we were able to work with, two of the advisors in this office, sit down with that individual, walk through some of the decisions that they could be making on their student loans, keeping more money in their pocket. Let's go into the student loan provider. But not only that, we have a really good relationship with a banker who specializes working with medical professionals, especially on mortgage underwriting. So not only are we able to help them with student loans, we also help them with our connections with the mortgage provider that's going to be able to help them qualify for the mortgage. Now, we're helping them out early on in their career, but we're not doing comprehensive financial planning yet. That's going to come later on. Right now, it was just a very tactical student loan and mortgage analysis. That was it. That was the scope of the work. One of the things that they have us do is we become CFPs, Certified Financial Planners, is understand the scope of the work and a relationship that the client's asking you for. Most of the people we serve, they do want the full breadth of the work that we do. There are some, though, they don't really need all the other comprehensive part. They just, in this example that I just shared, this particular client just needed student loan and mortgage analysis. Why would we get into cash flow analysis and assets and liquidity when they have no assets yet? Right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not getting into retirement planning with them because they're trying to figure out what to deal with the here and now so they could get out of this mountain of debt and start and get out of it as soon as possible so then they can start the other part of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a great example of, do I need a financial plan or not? This individual, as we were meeting, we always come in with the mindset, yes, they need a financial plan. But as we talk and we get to know them, we're going, okay, no, they don't need a comprehensive. They just need a couple of things here and there.
Yeah, well, I think you really nailed the definition. I think you put it out there lightly. I'm just going to repeat it out there because I think it's that important. Is that, when we think about goals, and a short-term goal means I'm planning for a vacation or I'm trying to buy a car. It's kind of not a major life event. It's more of a I need to buy a task. Where saving for retirement or preparing for retirement, even though you're 3 years out, is a life event, right? You have a major life event that's in the near horizon or the short-term horizon. I really think that when you're out there evaluating your situation right now, and what we do, as you highlighted there, is that if you're coming in thinking, man, I need to go buy a car, I need a new car, it's on its last legs, that's not really where a financial plan would come into play from a goal-based. But I'm 3 years out from retirement, 100% needs, I need a financial plan because I've got major decisions coming in that are going to impact the next 10, 20, 30 years of my life. I think that's pretty crucial, right? So I think that nailed it all on goals.
So let's say you're living paycheck to paycheck. And I see a lot more of this, especially with inflation being, you talked about going to the grocery store to buy eggs. You may need a financial plan just to purchase the eggs at this point, right? But what I'm getting at is we're not going to go into a full financial planning engagement with a couple that's living paycheck to paycheck. What we may do is just go into a cash flow engagement, right? Very, very specific thing. What are you doing with the money that's coming in? What about the money that's going out? right? What are you spending money on? What do we do with the difference? And how do we build that emergency savings or tackle that debt snowball, right? So it's not a full-fledged engagement, but we're not going to say good luck with that. We wish you all the best, right? We have the experience, the wisdom, and the knowledge to help people navigate through these things. And what we have found is a lot of people are just really too close to the problem to identify what the solution is to fix it is. Like for this particular couple that comes to my mind right now, they have an adopted son that had a very troubled background. And looking at their cash flow, they were spending about $300 a month just on clothing. And I'm like, so walk me through this clothing thing. Like, you guys are paycheck to paycheck. What's going on here? And they're like, they explain like he likes new shoes and new clothes. And I was like, okay, this is at the detriment though of like your financial future. They explained the whole context. Now, in this hour and a half meeting, when I said they explained the whole context, they spent 45 minutes just talking about this young man's history. Very empathetic. We went through a lot, but I don't know how much clothes someone's gonna need to feel that what they're doing is buying their way to show that he's cared about, right? And I'm sure they're doing more than just buying, but they're supplementing it. And I was like, listen, you're gonna have to cut that down to like maybe 100, maybe 50, so that you can start building that emergency savings, because you got to get out of this rat race you're in. So this was interesting. This young man, he was big into lacrosse. Like, it was at a school. He was very interested in it. So what does the dad do? He decides to say, "Hey, listen, we're going to cut down the clothing budget, but I'm going to sign up to be an assistant coach within your lacrosse team." So now the dad is spending more time with his son, and his son is doing good in school and everything. So we got to hear this follow-up meeting about like how things are going. Now they have like $5,000 in emergency savings, which was that's the most they've ever had, right? But it's not a financial planning engagement. It was they were too close to the situation, and they needed someone else to go, "Hey, I hear you. I'm listening to what you're doing. However, are you willing to continue this pattern that's going to hurt you and you're never going to get out of that rat race? Are you okay with that?" And they decided, no, we're not. But what am I going to do? I'm going to take this away from our son, but I'm going to add this now. I'm going to become an assistant coach. And I asked the dad, I was like, okay, from dad to dad, what's your experience with lacrosse? He goes, I have none, like at all. He goes, but my son doesn't care about that. He just cares that I'm trying and I'm getting out there and involved and engaged in what he's interested in. Right. I love that story because it really illustrates the situation and the scenario that's going on. We could have easily have charged a comprehensive financial planning fee and everything. It would not have been a fiduciary thing. It would not have been in their best interest.
Yep.
Right. And what purpose does that serve? The $5,000 goes to the firm versus staying within their pocket and allowing that to build in their emergency savings.
Yep.
Right. So this is like the core root. Now, there's a thing that we've been doing here as well, Andy. So Andy and I have access to a service provided to so business owners that own their own businesses. They have employees, and those employees, through work, they want to get financial education. It's called Financial Fitness for Life. That's a service provided that Prime Capital provides our 401k owners and sponsors. Well, we decided to say, well, can't we just do that for others that are not happen to be employees of those companies? So on our website here in Charleston, we have access to Financial Fitness for Life, where people could go down two pathways. They could go down one pathway where they could do it themselves. It's going through a questionnaire. It's this online program that has the highest engagement rates in the industry. So because of that, we know that people are staying engaged and actually going through the questions, and it starts giving them guidance and direction of things to consider. I love that. So they're not engaged in a full financial plan, but they do have this program that's in their, being the right hand person, helping them sort through some of these decisions. That's one pathway. The other pathway is the same thing that I just discussed, but twice a year they meet with a qualified professional. Think of that like they meet with a qualified professional, being an accountability partner. It's like, hey, you did a really good job in the beginning about your student loan, your credit card debt. Where are you at now? Oh, okay. So it seems like you slow that down. What came in your life that slowed that down? Okay, make these course corrections and adjustments, and we'll talk in 6 months. So now they have a check-in with a qualified professional with the other line of service. What I loved about this, Andy, is these are individuals that are not ready to get into a full-fledged financial planning approach and process and being engaged with a certified financial planner one-on-one, but they were looking for help, and they weren't going to try to do it all on their own. They wanted some sort of guidance, and we were able to leverage Financial Fitness for Life's approach right within our client base. And when the cool thing was, and I love our firm for this, they do monthly webinars on different financial topics. They extended that to all those that enrolled through our service on this. So on a monthly basis, they could go on a webinar and they could learn different concepts that are not maybe in the program, but it takes it into real life and applicable things. And they're in a group that's doing the same thing. So there was a lot of stuff there, Andy, that I really enjoyed. And I got to thank Prime Capital, Financial, and leadership here for being able to roll this out to the people who are not employees of our specific firms that we serve, but still want the support and service.
Yeah, no, I mean, the resources that we provide at a firm are helping the implementation. I think the bigger question that everybody's tuning into today around is, how do I address the fact, do I need a financial plan, right? Then how do we use the resources in order to help you implement those, whether it's with the person, right? Like Jason, I do every day. So I think the high level here is that if you're out there today and you've thought about clicking the button, you've tuned into our podcast, you've gone to clearpicturefinancial.com, you've downloaded some of our resources that are out there, you're hovering over the contact us now button, but you just haven't yet. And maybe that reason is because you don't know if you need a plan or not. What the goal of today was to highlight, okay, if you have goals, if you have a desired level of engagement, and if you have certain situations from low to complex, there's probably a case that you probably need one. But what we do is we want to help you understand whether or not you need one before we develop one for you, and then the fees come in. And that's where the clear picture analysis that Jason and I developed come in. It's a completely complimentary way. So if you're hovering that button, if you click contact us now and schedule that core value conversation, it starts the process to help you understand if you truly need a full formal comprehensive financial plan, or if you just need some of the resources that Jason just highlighted. At the end of the day, it may just be a process that goes through an educational process and engagement platform that we provide at the firm that will let you better understand your situation until you become one of those levels that tips you over into having that financial advisory situation. But I also want to highlight that our industry, Jason, as we wrap this year in, I mean, one, I appreciate all of those that have been through every engagement with us so far. And I think that you probably have heard along the way that very little do we think that the primary driver of an advisor-client relationship, which is part of the financial plan in a lot of respects, is asset under management and performance management. Performance of your product is important, but it isn't the reason why you should engage with a professional like Jason and our team, right? We want the best performance for our clients. We don't go out and buy lower quality investments to get there, but we highlight the preference to be a fiduciary in this industry. In this time of age for our clients, we have to help them make informed decisions and aims to simplify that complex relationship that people have with their wealth, right, Jason? So that was the goal of this year. I hope we accomplished it. I know that you're probably out there going, I don't really need to call these guys and get a financial plan. I'm good. You know what? You may be good. You may not be good. That's the question I leave everybody with. If you don't have 100% confidence with your wealth and your family and your financial decision making, do you really want to go into 2025 with that question still question, a question, or do you want a more clear path to better financial planning, better direction? And there's no commitment other than a little bit of time. But that's kind of my piece for the end of the year. I just wanted to kind of land on that, Jason. I want you to give your drop in knowledge noble comment, and we'll wish everybody a happy new year.
Definitely go to clearpicturefinancial.com. Check out not only this, but other podcasts that we have done, also our white papers. If you rather read something rather than listening to two people just talk about it with our talking heads on the screen, right? Go download the white paper. And if you're interested in going through our training, click on that to go through the training so you yourself could be able, you could do this. You could go through those steps that we have on the training and be able to put yourself in a position where you have financial clarity. 20 Minutes of Clarity, your go-to podcast for financial information so you can make better financial decisions. I'm your host, Jason Noble. That was Andy the Man Merchant. Thank you so much for tuning in and have a great day.